our next presenter is Damian Eke. Damian is a research fellow in the CCSR at De Montfort University. He is the chair of the data governance group of the Human Brain Project and also a member of the International Brain Initiative's Data Governance Working Group. So Damian, when you're ready, you may start, share your slide.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you for the warm introduction, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me. Yes, I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, I can't share my put my video on because I'm in another workshop where I'm attending physically. So I'm in a position where I can't put my video on. But thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about AI ethics and governance. Perspectives from Africa. If I can put this in the presentation mode. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the AI ethics and governance perspectives from Africa. As the presentation develops, you understand why the focus is on Africa and not on a specific country in Africa, just like the other presenters. In the last decade, thousands of institutions, including public and private institutions, have come up with some sort of AI policy, strategy, regulation, or governance framework that reflects principles and values that should be embedded in AI design, development, and deployment. So many institutions from the Council of Europe to OECD have also committed to monitoring the development of these documents. Here is a picture of the AI Observatory from OECD. What is glaring from this image is that it seems as if little or nothing is happening in Africa, while there is a concentration of effort in the global north. Why is this the case? Is it because there is no AI application areas in Africa? Contrary to popular opinion, AI, as we currently know it as narrow AI, is alive and thriving in Africa. There are several application areas in many countries of Africa. Research that we are currently conducting indicates that current areas include healthcare, financial services, business management, education, transportation, telecommunication, agriculture, and public services. I will quickly show you a picture of a map that we have on this and how these are distributed in Africa. As you can see, there are different AI application areas and startups in African countries, in different African countries, to show that. One I will highlight here is BASE. BASE APIs is a Ghanaian startup that has developed a system to correctly identify Black faces with facial recognition software, which is a problem with Western developed facial recognition softwares. I'll go back to the slides. So why then is the governance mechanism not developing at the same pace as AI systems in Africa? I am not saying that there is nothing currently happening in this regard, because there are currently 2 established national AI policies or strategies from Egypt and Mauritius. Only 2, considering that we have over 50 countries in Africa, but there are no AI regulations yet in Africa. There is a growing number of digital strategies, although AI is rarely mentioned in these strategies, or if they are mentioned as part of the 4th industrial revolution, or there are data protection regulations coming up in Africa. At the same time, there is an emerging and thriving data spaces, similar to Silicon Valley in the US. We have Yabacon Valley in Nigeria, Sheba Valley in Ethiopia, Silicon Savannah in Kenya, and all that. These tech spaces are shaping a vibrant AI ecosystem in Africa. There are also a number of initiatives and networks advocating for responsible AI. Brain Africa is a good example here. However, there are things missing. There's something missing. So our analysis of the global AI ethics and governance landscape, including all the documents, including the available strategies in Africa, indicate that there is something missing. The lack of AI frameworks, governance frameworks in Africa means that African interests, expectations, fears, concerns, societal contexts, and ethics are missing from the global responsible AI discourse. The whole essence of responsible AI revolves around determining values and principles that need to be embedded into the design, development, and deployment of AI as a value-laden technology. In Europe, the high-level expert group captured this well in the framework for trustworthy AI, where principles such as respect for autonomy, prevention of harm, fairness, and explicability are clearly highlighted. These are principles that reflect the socio-cultural context of Europe. But you agree with me that the conceptualization of these principles are not the same in Africa. These principles mean different things in different cultures. So, considering the African sociocultural context, priority may have been different in Africa. Instead of prioritizing the respect for autonomy, it may have been the prioritization of solidarity, highlighting the interconnectedness of the collective rather than the individual, which is the core element of the African communitarian ethics. The communitarian ethics found in almost all cultures in Africa, although this is called differently in different things in different cultures. Ubuntu in Southern Africa, Ujamaa or Umunna in Western Africa. African communitarian ethics should be at the core or at the center of responsible AI in Africa. Principles that highlight the need for relational AI, actually. The design, development, and deployment of AI that addresses African sociocultural contexts, such as poverty and corruption, should be shaped by the tenets of communitarian ethics. AI policies, regulations, or strategies, or whatever the AI that should be developed in Africa should reflect this. But how can Africa achieve responsible AI, which is a critical question for all of us. In our upcoming book on responsible AI in Africa, we have a few ideas. One is that in Africa, we need to frame the role AI needs to play in Africa. And by Africa here, it is important to know that this should be led by Africa and by Africa and Africans. It is important for us to frame the role beyond the train high of AI. We need to frame the role of AI considering African expectations, interests, fears, hopes, needs, innovation, African ownership, and African data, and African algorithm. Secondly, we need to identify the relevant African values and principles to be embedded in AI systems, considering the unique cultural belief systems and traditions that we have in Africa. The ethical framework was characterized by communitarian ethics, communitarian principles, Ubuntu, Ujamaa, or humanism that I've highlighted earlier, and also our cultural practices and values. And finally, we need to involve relevant stakeholders from different nations, or regions, jurisdiction, fields of study, gender, socioeconomic backgrounds, public and private sector, languages, policymakers, industry, or what is called the quadruple helix in Europe, for co-creation, for engaging them, include everybody, for participation, also buy-in, to build trust and consultation and education in Africa. To conclude, although we are not major players in the current global AI ethics and governance landscape, Africa has a lot to offer to the responsible AI discourse around the world. AI cannot be developed for Africa without Africans. Africa has a major role to play to be on the table, just as Emma was saying earlier on today. We need to capture African hopes and expectations and interests. But although the first responsibility falls on us as Africans, we also need global players to support the process. Just as Emma said, because of the danger of epistemic injustice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Damian, right on time. It's a very interesting presentation, giving us a true understanding of the landscape of AI in Africa and many of those considerations that we need to work on, as people based in Africa, for instance. Thank you, Damian.